And, you know, we were born as a Mason into a Mason family, and we were a Mason. We were born a princess, and we were a royal forever. We had to behave a certain way. We had to dress what was in fashion. We had to be tied by the waist until we died almost from suffocation and organ squeezing, or we had to get our feet tied if we were in China, etc. You know, and be crippled all our life. Literally, we had to be crippled by the culture as it existed. So we've experienced millennia of cultures that crippled us. Of course, there were beautiful things too that always happened. You know, beautiful music, dances, and aesthetics that are wonderful, that everybody rejoiced in, and celebrations and farmland celebrations. But they were set. The tradition was set, and that's what we did. Because culture, of course, even today for most people, culture is always stronger than reason. We can have the understanding, we can have the logic, we can have the exact explanation why this makes sense like that. But culture says, and we do what culture does. Because we want to belong and we want to be part of. So, however, nevertheless, today, for the first time in history, we have the choice to say, but I'm going to go just a little bit outside that culture, and I'm going to dress the way I want, and I'm going to dance in the street if I feel like it. I'm going to sing. I know as a kid, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. My mother would sing in the street. Oh my God, it was so embarrassing. How could you do that to us, Mother? You know, nobody sings in the street. So today we can. And we are not burnt at the stake for being a witch. If we decide to wear long skirts, or short skirts, or fancy things, or very not fancy things, or like my son, walk barefoot down the road, we can. And in the same manner, we can, for the first time in history, decide what we put into our body or not. We can, for the first time, decide how we address other people or not. We can, for the first time, rid ourselves of all those revenge feelings and all those notions of, I've got to be better than you. I am stronger, smarter, whatever it is. We can get out of this competitiveness, which really, again, cripples us because we are not able to control our own life and being if we are confined by the competitive, hierarchical culture that we're in at the moment. So I've gone way big again, but as I'm going through my life, doing the conventional stuff and entertainment, of course, everything is a little bit wilder and a little bit more exciting maybe, but I see how superficial the world is and how politics are functioning. And at that time, I met an African gentleman in Berlin, and we decided to get married, and I moved to Africa, and so I saw the world from a very different perspective, and I realized that everything belongs together. Everything works together. Big politics, the food we eat, the way we treat each other in our home life, etc. And I realized that even though I wasn't able to quite take myself outside of it, mind you, I was called the rabbit at my studio. I opened a studio for dance and fitness in Zimbabwe in the school for drama because that was my background, and I had studied modern dance in Paris. So my students and the whole studio always called me the rabbit because I would come in with my carrots and cucumbers, often, and my avocados, often from my yard. However, it wasn't quite that conscious decision, as I mentioned earlier, with the infections, because there was still a lot of meat and cheese and dairy in my diet. However, the important thing for me living in Africa was to see how everything in the world is a mindset. And this mindset is what governs us. It's that hierarchical system, that competitiveness, that avengeful thinking that governs our whole belief system. And the belief system, again, leads us to look up to the doctor said, I must do. Or the professor said, or the royalty, or the president, and so forth. So we're living in these systems, and of course that same is true for the food pyramids, which of course are changing all the time. But you must eat this amount of meat, and this amount of veggies, and this amount of fruit, and this amount of whatever grains, etc., and all of it cooked. So now we get to my understanding of how it all works together, how we live, so it becomes a whole lifestyle. Then at that time, moving to America, because my then husband received a Fulbright scholarship to go to university in New York. So coming to America opened yet another whole view of how the world is run. And of course, everybody who grows up in Europe or anywhere thinks that everybody in America is rich. Very rich. And then you get to New York, and of course Columbia University is in Harlem, and you see the desperateness of people, and you get a different view of how this system is prevalent in every country, because the system is worldwide, the system of hierarchical existence. So one person can only have $1 billion because one less than 1 billion people have very, very little. So the 99% is actually even more. I just read another statistic. So, however, we are here in a world that, in spite of the fact that we have all these excesses, we have the possibility for the first time, and it's almost global, that we can make those choices for our own lives, and we can actually look into, we can research, we can learn what other people are finding and understanding. So we can make the choices for the first time, and we can realize that when it comes down to it, we can change everything to a notion of I'm in control. I love that you're in control, and 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 she's in control, and she's in control, and he's in control. We're all in control. We do not have to submit to somebody else who's in control of what we do with our body. So coming to the U.S., it took still a whole while, obviously, for me to include more good food into my diet. And ultimately, having children, I decided to raise them vegan plus eggs and fish at the time. And because, I wasn't ready to do the raw thing, because I needed the sense that they have community and are not completely outside of everything. And vegan plus eggs and fish, I could always kind of make the alternative vegan food when they went to school, and and have their little packages with them. And it already, as my daughter will be able to tell you, it already caused quite a bit of hurt, because there was always that, well, we can't have that, and we can't come to your party because you're not doing the kind of food you're doing, and but you can come to my party. And we had wonderful parties at our house, but there was that, and it's those very difficult decisions how far do you take yourself out of the culture because you know better? And in how far do you want to participate and rejoice? So, of course, my claim to fame and success is that my daughter and my son, whom you saw, have never in their life had a single antibiotic, have never in their life had any allopathic medicine, really. Well, my daughter plays with a couple of painkillers here and there when she has her period, but and they had never seen a hospital from inside. That's why they went to college classes when they were 14 and 16, and they did a project whereby they had to go to a place that they were not familiar with, where groups gather, and they both decided to go to a hospital because they were not familiar with what goes on the inside of a hospital. So, if you want to speak to that, be brief.
It was fun, but it's not quite true that we've never seen a hospital from the inside prior to that, because one time when I was about 8 years old, we went to the hospital because I had a bee sting, and that was the first time, and let me tell you, it was funny.
And you wanted so much to go to the hospital because, that was the cool thing to do. And the nurse was very understanding, and she made her a big bandage on her foot, and she went to class in school and was able to put her foot up, and it was like
fun.
So, okay. So much for raising children without animal products. Well, eggs and fish, of course, did play a role in our diet. However, they are the least inflammatory agents of all the animal products from my experience and what I've seen with others. If I would do it again, I would now certainly do it raw, because I've seen such awesome families who've done it, including Brian Clemens' family, whose kids have never missed a day of school, and it's because they're never sick. So that was raising my kids, and then I was in an abusive relationship, and it was leading me to not sleep. Not because I couldn't sleep, but because there was no time to sleep. It was crazy, building a business or trying to, which was kind of insanity. Okay, so in an abusive relationship, I was at a point where my brain was saying, you can't do this anymore, you can't not sleep for a whole week or something like that, or just 2 hours here and there. And I had a stroke. Yep. I had previously known after a car accident where somebody drove into me that from a EEG, is it? The brain scan? EKG? I thought that was the cardio.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, after a brain scan, the neurologist had told me that it looks like I had a propensity for stroke. And or I was prone to, there was a fragility there. And I had these dizziness spells basically from exhaustion. So this is also to tell you, even living very healthy, you just can't exploit your body only so far. It will give and it will collapse if you overdo it. And of course, the healthier you are, the more you tend to want to overdo it because you think, I can. Hello, I can. So watch out for overdoing it. So this stroke, however, and I think I've regained all my faculties, and you tell me. I think it was the last straw. I needed it to really say, okay, now I'm going raw. And that was in 2003, and I have been raw since.